Hey guys, it's Sanguine9 coming at you with my Mono Red Burn Legacy deck tech today. Let's hop into it here. We got 4 Lightning Bolts, 1 mana instant, 3 damage to target creature or player. I'm pretty sure anyone who plays Magic knows this is one of the best red spells ever printed. It kills basically any creature aside from like Tarmogoyf in Legacy, and it can be shot at the head for 3. So not many removal spells can target creatures and players, and this one does, so it's fantastic. Moving on, we have 4 Chain Lightnings. It's like another copy of Lightning Bolt, except it's a sorcery, and there's one downside of they can pay double red. If they do, they may copy this and target you with it. I've never had that happen, so it's not very relevant for the most part. Maybe the burn mirror match is probably the only one. Up next, we have 4 Lava Spikes. It's a 1 mana sorcery, 3 damage to target player only. So you can't target creatures with that, and it's sorcery, so you have to cast it on your turn. So if you don't have a lightning bolt, for example, I would go turn 1 mountain, tap, throw down Lava Spike, get it out of the way right away. There's no sense holding on to it. Moving on, we have 4 copies of Searing Blaze. It's double red instant, 1 damage to target player and 1 damage to target creature with landfall. If you have land enter this turn, it deals 3 to the creature and 3 to the player instead. With all the fetch lands, I run 8, for example. It's not hard to get the landfall trigger. You only want to be casting this when you have the landfall trigger because it's basically like 2 lightning bolts glued together, 1 to the creature, 1 to the player. So it's kind of the clunkiest card in my deck, though. In certain matchups, it gets sideboarded out quite often, like Miracles. If there's no creature to target with Searing Blaze, you can't cast it, so you can't just pay double red and hit them for 3. So if they have no creatures on board, it just sits in your hand waiting until they do, and sometimes they don't. Again, like Miracles is a good example where that's a dead card, so I end up sideboarding it out. Up next, we have 4 Price of Progress. Pretty nutty card indeed. It's banned in other formats for good reason. It's 2 mana instant. Price of Progress deals damage to each player equal to twice the number of non-basic lands that player controls. If you've played any Legacy, you know that everybody runs non-basic lands. Thankfully for Burn, they're one of the only decks that runs just basic mountains and fetches, but you would obviously fetch your land instant speed before you cast the Price of Progress so you don't take damage yourself. I had this deal 10 damage to an opponent yesterday. He had 5 non-basic lands. 5 times 2 is 10. It's pretty good. Up next, we have Riff Bolts. It's a kind of a cool card. You can hard cast it for 3 mana. It's a sorcery. 3 damage to target creature or player, so lightning bolt effect. But you can suspend it for 1 red. You basically exile it, put a time counter on it. At the beginning of your next upkeep, you may cast this spell without paying its mana cost. So you don't have to pay the 3, you pay the 1 red, exile it for a turn, comes back. It's very useful because you cast that on turn 1, and it can disturb their turn 1 plays. Say if they have a Deathrite Shaman in hand, or Birds of Paradise, or, anything like that, they're going to hold on to it because they'll know, okay, well, I have a Rift Bolt coming at my creature next turn, so it's kind of useful that way. Fire Blast, another spell that's banned in like Modern Burn, for example, because it's just that good. When you look at the 6 mana, it's not usually very intriguing, but if you look down a little farther, it says Fire Blast deals 4 damage to a creature or player. You may sacrifice 2 mountains rather than pay Fire Blast mana cost. Fantastic. Usually by the end of the game, you have maybe 4 mountains, which you can also tap. So if you still have some gas, you'll go, tap my mountains, Chain Lightning, Lightning Bolt, use up those mountains, and then sacrifice those tapped mountains to get max value out of them and deal 4 more damage to their creature or player, but usually the player. Um, Up next, a pretty awesome card in my opinion. Some people give me some flack for it, but to each their own. I've won games with it. One copy of Thunderous Wrath. I'll tell you why I ordered one copy only. It's 6 mana. In Legacy, you're especially in Burn, you're never gonna hard cast that for 6 mana. What it's there for is its miracle cost. It says miracle for 1 red. You may cast this card for its miracle cost when you draw it if it's the first card you drew this turn, and it deals 5 damage to creature or player. So essentially, it's like Lightning Bolt, which is one of the best red spells ever printed, for 5 instead of 3, but you have to miracle it. So you can't have it in your starting hand. With the one copy, the percentage of having it in your starting hand is very low, so I'm willing to take that risk. You basically draw your card for the turn, don't put it into your hand as a part of the miracle rules, flip it right away, pay 1 red, boom, 5 damage to the face. It's almost like 2 lightning bolts glued together. It's fantastic. Up next, my favorite card in the deck, hands down, Grim Lavamancer. He's been around since Torment, I believe it was. Such a good card. I run 8 fetch lands. It gives him plenty of gas. He's a one mana 1/1. You can pay 1 red and tap him. Exile 2 cards from your graveyard. Grim Lavamancer deals 2 damage to a creature or player. So it's a reusable shock for basically a red and for getting rid of resources you've already spent. So early game, you're throwing all your lava spikes, chain lightnings, lightning bolts, and cracking your fetch lands. Usually you have, 6-8 cards in your bin. One of these guys on the field, it's a huge threat over and over and over. You just keep tapping them. 2 damage, 2 damage, 2 damage. It can't be countered. If Grim Lavamancer hits the table early game, that ability, unless they have Stifle, he just keeps tapping and burning you. So, even if they're holding a handful of counter spells, for example, you can walk right into his counter spells, throw down a chain lightning. Okay, cancel it. Sure. Thanks for the gas in my bin, and by bin I mean graveyard. And you throw those away and deal 2 damage anyway. So you get damage through either way. Up next, Monastery Swiftspear. Excuse me. She's fantastic. I'm running her in place of Goblin Guide. Yeah, I know. I get a lot of flack about that too, but they're not the guys going 4-0. So obviously there's something to be said about her. Goblin Guide, first of all, is a 2/2 creature with haste, but it has a very nasty downside that people seem to undermine. It says, when he attacks, they reveal the top card of their library. If it's a land, they get to put it into their hand. Now, giving them a free card is really bad, especially in Legacy. Even if it is a land, the way you have to think about it is you just gave them a time walk, essentially. They peeled that land out of the way to now, when their actual upkeep comes and their draw step, they're going to now draw something, whether it's a land again, but when it sped them up a draw step, it could be something that wins them the game. Legacy decks are extremely powerful. Giving them any cards or speeding them up at all is really bad. So Swiftspear is a 1/2 creature with haste, with prowess as well, which makes her fantastic. So usually turn 1, you throw her down. You only have 1 red, so she swings in for 1 instead of 2. But now you don't have the downside of giving them a land. Turn 2, she can just go off like crazy. You throw down another mountain or crack a fetch land. You can go, double chain lightning, double lightning bolt, whatever you have. Use 2 spells. Her prowess triggers. The prowess is whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 till end of turn. So 2 lightning bolts, she gets +2/+2. She's now a 3/4. Bigger than Goblin Guide could ever be. Also useful against removal, like say Other Burn, for example. If they want to cast a lightning bolt at her, as she's 2 toughness, I go, okay, in response, because how the stack works, you could just go lightning bolt, and now she's at 4 toughness, and now his lightning bolt doesn't kill her. Boom, his lightning bolt fizzles off. She's huge. I swing for lots. Last card in the deck, Eidolon of the Great Revel. If you're running burn, you damn well better be running this guy. He's double red for 2/2 enchantment creature spirit. Whenever a player casts a spell with converted mana cost 3 or less, in brackets, any legacy card, close brackets, Eidolon of the Great Revel deals 2 damage to that player. So that's including us as well, which is fine, because life total doesn't really matter when you're in burn. You want to just kill them as quickly as possible using life as a resource. So this does insane amounts of damage to them. It makes them hesitate to play any of their spells, so it slows them down. It swings for 2. It's a great card all around. Yeah, so that's my deck tech, guys. I'm running 19 lands, 8 fetch lands, 11 basic mountains, and I'm not going to go into the sideboard because that really depends on your metagame. Yeah, thanks a lot for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Take care.